Welcome back, personal finance students. We are going to move on to the concept of defined benefit plans. These are not necessarily your money coming out of your paycheck. This is an additional cost that you cause your employer, right? One of the ones we're going to talk about is Social Security, and that's a great example in the fact that they take 6.2% out of your paycheck and send it off to the government in Social Security taxes. However, your employer also has to match dollar for dollar that 6.2%. And there are some numbers that go along with that and some limits, and they add up more and add up less and things like that. But the idea is you'll hear Mr. Clem say you're more expensive than your annual salary or your hourly rate of return for things like health insurance, but also taxes. Some companies, not a lot anymore, but some companies will provide these defined benefit plans. If you work for a union, you maybe do not get as much in a monthly paycheck or a twice a month paycheck. But one of the benefits of working for a union type company is they may have this defined benefit plan. And in a way overly simple, you meet a certain list of criteria and they will just write you a check once a month until you die once you meet that criteria. If you were working in the Ford Motor Company factory in St. Paul building Ford Rangers back in the day, and they had a rule that said if you put in 30 years at the Ford Ranger plant, you could then retire with full benefits. That full benefit would be they'd write you a paycheck until you die. And that paycheck wouldn't be the same as your full paycheck like you were getting while you were working. It may be, 2/3 to 3/4. It's probably not going to be the same amount on a monthly basis, but they're going to cut you a paycheck until you die. So it's a very big benefit of working as a teacher or as a mail carrier or in some kind of public sector job that provides unions. A lot of government jobs that have unions have pensions, but some private employers do as well. So let's talk about a pension plan. A private pension plan is an employer-sponsored program where the employer is going to set money aside on your behalf. That money is then pooled and invested, and eventually it'll be drawn out by you once you meet certain criteria. There are public pension plans like, say, a military pension or Social Security that do the same thing, right? They set money aside. Public pension, a little different because they are taxing you at 6.2%, but they tax everybody at 6.2. The employer matches 6.2, set it aside in a big old bucket, and that bucket is invested. And when you meet criteria, you're able to start drawing out of that bucket. So the money is pooled and invested and then paid out to you when you retire. Usually you get two options. You can either say, cut me a paycheck until I die, or cut me a paycheck until I and my spouse happen to die. So if you're married and one of you is anticipated to live longer than the other, and you say, pay it over my lifetime and my spouse's lifetime, then when you die, your spouse still has an income coming in. And this could be a Social Security idea. This could also be a private pension idea. Right? Again, key point here, it's not commonplace. It used to be. It's not commonplace anymore because it's very expensive, because they're promising to cut you a paycheck until you die. And we're living a lot longer than we used to. So let's take a look at the public sector one, the government one, Social Security. Again, it's a transfer payment run by the government. Taxes are deducted from your paycheck and they go straight to grandma and grandpa who are currently retired. That's the transfer payment part of it. You're given credit for each time you pay in. They'll keep track of it, they meaning the Social Security Administration. And as they keep track of it, once you meet the criteria, you have the ability to draw out when you get old enough to draw out. This was started up back in 1935 by President Roosevelt as a post-Great Depression plan. When it originally came out, they would take 1% from the employee and they would take 1% from the employer. So a total of 2% was set aside, and it would be drawn out by people who were of retirement age. Currently, we're up to 6.2%, half from the employee, half from the employer, and that's where we're currently at. So how do you collect on Social Security? Well, a couple of requirements. First off, you need to have worked a total of 40 quarters to be eligible. That's essentially 10 years. They do not have to be consecutive years, right? If you work for 5 or 6 and then you start a family and you stay home for a couple years and then you get back into the workforce later, as long as by the time you get to retirement age, you have 40 quarters earned, you are able to draw. A lot of people work more than 40 quarters, right? But that's the minimum. Again, a portion of that deducted from your paycheck starts at $1 up to $147,000, and these numbers here always change. I believe 2023, the number's up to like 163,000 or something. But the idea is you're going to pay your fair share. Your fair share starts at $1 on a yearly basis, all the way up to $147,000. Once you start getting into this larger amount of money earned, they say, yep, you've done your fair share. We don't need to collect any more from you. Same thing on the employer side. Once you've got to this $147,000, they say, employer, yep, Clem's made enough money. He's paid enough in Social Security taxes. You don't need to pay any more this year. Now, when the new year starts, I got to start all over again. And again, I got to pay Social Security taxes until I've earned at least this much money. Well, now Clem gets old, and it's time for Clem to start thinking about drawing out his Social Security. Clem could draw it out in what we call, quote unquote, early retirement, and the earliest I could get it would be age 62. And what I would end up doing is I would pull out at a reduced benefit. So let's come back to this in a second. I could collect full retirement at age, for me, it's like 66 and 8 months or something like that. But for most of us, it's, in the 65, 67, and it keeps growing, right? The older or the younger you get, right? You guys that are listening to this now, your full retirement age may be 68, okay? So they keep pushing off what full retirement age is. It keeps getting later and later as time goes on. But for Clem, I could start drawing full retirement at age 66 years and 8 months or whatever number I made up. And to put some numbers to that, let's say Clem would earn $3,000 a month, right? At full retirement age, I'd earn $3,000 a month at 66 and 8 months. Now, if I wanted to draw it early, I could draw it early, but I would take an 8% penalty, if you will, every year I drew early. So if I had $3,000 a month and I multiply that by 0.92, I'd get $2,760 at age 65, or $2,539 at 64, or $2,336. Or about $1,800, right? $3,000 here at 66. But if I wanted to take it early, I'd take an 8% per year reduction. And that could be a decent chunk of change, right? That went from like $3,000 down to around $1,900 to $2,000. That's a lot of money that I'm not getting, but I'm also drawing it at an earlier age. Or the flip side, if I wanted to, I could wait until age 70, right? So from age 66 to age 70, I would get a bump or an increase of about 8% per year. So multiply that by 1.08. So age 67 to be 3,240, 3,500, 37, almost 3,800. I could maybe make about $4,000, almost $4,100 here at age 70. So the longer I wait, the more I get. The earlier I draw, the less I get. So as I look at Social Security, when should or could I get it? Again, early is age 62 at a reduced level. Full retirement age is based off of your actual age, and you could wait till age 70. There's no benefit to waiting longer than age 70, so you might as well start taking it at age 70. Here is kind of that grid, if you will. Well, it looks like I'm actually 67 rather than 66 and 8 months because I wasn't born in 1950 anything. I was born in 73. So I got to wait till 67.